I am sitting with someone that I feel is one of the people personally responsible for my career, whether you like it or not. It's the absolute babe and my friend, Glyn Fussell, a pioneer of queer nightlife, self-expression, and with working class roots. From starting Sink the Pink to reshaping what it means to embrace queerness in mainstream culture, to also bringing some of the best national and international pop stars, as well as the craziest weirdos that the UK scene has to offer, onto a stage near you. Glyn Fussell!
Finally, you asked me on.
I know. How are you doing?
Oh, I feel very grateful to be here.
Well, I'm so excited to have you here. Like, it's honestly, like, when I think about all the people that I want to have on, like, you were obviously always at the top. Because I feel like I've never done this side with you.
No, we were just talking actually before, and you were on my podcast, and we have I feel like a lot of our conversations actually are behind the scenes, are the dark.
Yeah.
You know, on text or whenever we see each other. But yeah,
or a concert.
Yeah, always it's always a concert
always a gig.
or a gay wedding.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And we've never done it like this.
Yeah,
so.
we've never done it. I've never had you in the hot seat. Because I've done both of your podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I'm excited to have you.
Rest in peace.
Well, we've got so much to talk about.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to the beginning. Little baby Glyn.
Oh, God, yeah.
Let's go there. What were you like? I can imagine.
I was shy.
Were you?
I was painfully shy. Yeah, no one believes that.
I'm shocked by that.
Yeah, I was really... Well, I'm one of... You know this. Like, I'm from a massive family. I'm one of 7. Really camp dad. It was like he was trying to prove a point. And, yeah, one of 7. Very working class. Like, very small house. Lots of very big personalities. And so... And my mum was a childminder. So there's also lots of the council kids from the neighbourhood. And it was an open door policy in our house. It was just hectic. And I think that anyone that feels different, that just makes you go inward. So I was very quiet, very shy, surprisingly, mummy's boy. But because of that, I was a wild dreamer and had a wild imagination. My mum would say that, at Christmas, with all the boxes from the toys that the kids would get, I would just collect all the boxes and I would go out and create something massive, But I think that's what a lot of queer kids and definitely a lot of queer creatives that I know, sometimes being in a space that doesn't fit them means that you have to go inward, create a fantasy world. And I've been doing that ever since. But yeah, I was very, very shy and... I was very, very cute. Yeah. I was blonde and I was chubby and...
In Bristol?
In Bristol, in a place called Bedminster, which is very inner city and a bit grotty. Not as grotty now because, all the radical lesbians moved in and gave it a sweep. You know how that goes. I think it took me a while to figure out who I was. And so I felt like I learned to become a very good actor for many years and just navigated... not being noticed for as long as I could until it exploded. But also I was very effeminate, very gay. And funnily enough, from a very young age, loved dressing up. I remember my mum always said to me that on my 3rd birthday, I used to have a speech impediment growing up. And when I was, I couldn't sound, I used to stammer and I couldn't pronounce certain letters. And on my 3rd birthday, I'd apparently asked for one thing and one thing only. Anyway, I didn't get it. And then I burst into tears, brat. And she's like, why are you crying? Why are you crying? And I said, because I wanted a pram and a proper pair of tights. And so they had to get me a pram and tights and I dressed up. And I remember, one thing I do remember, one of my earliest memories is getting my older sister's tights and making it into like a snazzy alternate.
Yeah.
You relate.
Oh, absolutely. Of course
Any opportunity.
Yeah. What was it about towels as well?
Towels. My mum used to swim and she has those like old school 1950s, I think they were swim caps.
Yeah, amazing.
Oh my God, I thought that was sensational. And also Eurovision, I would find any opportunity within the calendar that it felt I could dress up so that I maybe wouldn't be seen as gay, like fool. So Eurovision, me and my little sister, I would make her dress up. There was always a thing with tights, actually. We used to do this thing, me and my sister, where we'd steal my mum's tights, put them on, pull them back so our faces would change, and then put makeup over the top, which is quite, avant-garde, dare I say. But really, for me, it was about making my face look sort of dainty and feminine.
In a way that wasn't like putting a full beater face on.
Completely that, yeah. And also a bit weird. I always wanted to, when I was dressing up, it's so weird, actually, that a lot of the things that I did as a kid, I then ended up repackaging in real life and making a career out of it.
Yeah, I feel like that is that is the truth behind you. Because I feel like I can imagine what you were like as a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have said, I know you've said like a kind of outspoken or outrageous introvert in the past.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like I would have had you as like quite shy as a kid. But it makes sense. I guess that dreaming, like, what was that fantasy world? Sing the Pink.
Well, I was very shy at school. I was very shy with adults. But with, this doesn't come across so well, but I was also quite devious. And
cheeky?
Yeah, just devious. Devious, yeah. Thanks for helping me there. Just devious.
Just devious.
And so mum had all these kids. So there was always an active audience. And I was obsessed with Grease 2 growing up. And I remember watching Grease 2 and sitting there, watching the video, and then writing the script word for word, and cast myself in 3 roles in Grease, and then cast all of the other kids in it. So I would create fantasy worlds like that, musicals, make them all do shows. They didn't want to do it. I was always trying to build spaceships in the back garden out of bits of wood and go and see the Care Bears, and just any opportunity to get out of the very normal upbringing, working class upbringing. That was, for me, quite bleak. I found it all, even then, I remember thinking, one day I'll escape here. And then I became rich. One thing I did become really obsessed with when I got a bit older was Beverly Hills 90210. And I used to, as I would fall asleep, this is terrible, but I would dream that the storks had made a mistake. And actually I was supposed to be in Beverly Hills. And that someone would knock on the door and say, oh, by the way, surprise, we're your real parents, and take me away.
I used to do that as well. How crazy is that?
I just think I was a complete fantasist growing up. I mean, even to the point that when I got to school and got to college, and I've seen Jerry Halliwell say this actually, and I think when you come, and I do relate to her, old, not new her. I relate to Ginger, not Geraldine Bernadette Halliwell. I would tell people like wild stories that weren't true, like we had a house in Spain, and I was always trying to create this fantasy.
I think I did that as well.
And I think, again, it's quite draggy to do that. It's quite queer to do that. Because
like you're seeking something else, you want something more, you just speak it into existence.
Yeah, and I was desperate for validation. I was desperate to be seen. And I think creating a smoke and mirrors thing was a way of them not actually understanding that, I was a tight-wearing, cross-dressing homosexual.
But I feel like that's quite a common thing with queer people, I think.
Yeah.
And like finding your own, or finding not even finding your own, just finding something that you can envision or relate to that isn't your normal life.
Yeah.
Because I think like what you said earlier is like when you were like, you kind of learn how to fit in or whatever, like learn to do. I think I struggled with that as well at school. Like I didn't want to be doing a lot of the stuff, but you kind of just put on a mask, don't you?
Yeah.
To just get by until you feel like you can find your people or do your thing.
Did you do drama at school?
I did, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So that's when I stopped being shy.
Okay.
You know that thing in life?
What part of school was that?
Senior school. It was when I was 13. I truly believe I went to the kind of school where education was not valued by the teachers, by anyone. It was essentially one of those schools where the only way that you get through it is to be popular, to be a little bit of a bruiser, and to just get the hell through it. And there's so much of my school life I do not remember, and I think it was because I was just trying to get through, and I was in survival mode. It was rough as hell. It was this kind of school, my senior school, where all the expelled kids got sent. So.
Right.
And so I used to find a lot of anxiety in that, because you think, God, I finally managed a way of that kid not beating me up. And then it was like Drag Race, here comes a new one, or a new twist every time. Oh, that kid doesn't know, and I'm going to have to try again. So it was the anxiety of not being exposed or beaten to shit. And then I started drama, and I would say that was the boldest leap ever of a brave thing, because I remember if you did drama, you were gay.
Yeah, for sure.
But I remember this one teacher who, taught English as well, just really pushing me because she saw something.
Always the English teacher.
It's always that, Mrs. Hill, Angela Hill.
Oh.
And she was amazing, and she was warm, and she just, I think it was the first time anyone had ever encouraged me to do anything and said that I could do something. And it was so mind-blowing to me that I just was like, okay, I'll do it. And she cast me in the school musical, terrified. I was Vince Fontaine in Grease, not Grease 2, Grease, but... And that was the start of me coming out my shell, and also finding the oddballs and realizing that in school I didn't need to pretend, and it wasn't working with me. Like the level of anxiety that I had on the daily of trying to be the popular kid. Also, I came from a family of naughty kids. So when I got to school, there was this reputation of being a Fussell.
Right.
My big sister was rough as nails. My brother was really naughty. And then in I come, old wafty flouncer. And I just had to kind of try and pretend. And then drama happened, and I didn't just find my voice. I totally found my fucking voice.
Yeah, too, right.
And I went with it, and that.
It's so hard in school, though, and especially in senior school. I think it's even more courageous to do that.
Yeah, and then I found the weird kids. It's what drama does, right?
Yeah.
You find all the kids that didn't, and a lot of these kids, this is no word of a lie, and it's terrible. I didn't even know we were in my year. I'd never even seen them, because they lived in the shadows as well. And even though I was in that popular gang before, I realised that I was just living in the shadows of them, trying not to be seen. And they were the best kids I'd met, really. And then I started, because with all the other kids that I'd been hanging out with, we didn't hang out outside of school. The only, my salvation then was home. And then when I met all the drama weird kids, we started spending all our time together. Everything that I'd been living internally, all the creating of the fantasy, writing Grease 2, we did that.
That's
so
amazing. And it's hard, though, at that age, because if I think back to when I was that age, I think I stopped doing a lot of dancing. I stopped doing drama when I got to like 14, 15, because I was like, okay, I need to just get by, because the school was very similar to what you're explaining. Yeah. Like, it's like the popular people, and like, I would rather be part of the banter than not be part of it at all, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Like, I was like throwing myself into it. And I think like, I definitely had a teacher that was like someone that stood out to me. What were other teachers like for you?
Horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was bullied.
Misunderstood.
Just bullied. I think that, just because you're a teacher doesn't mean that you're a good person. I think that that's one thing I've realized in my adult life. And because it was a bad school, terrible school, the level of teaching was reflected, I think, in that. I remember my tutor was an alcoholic, and we would see him pull out whiskey. No wonder he did, mind you. We were terrible. But whilst in the morning, we would all be in our tutor group, and he would get the whiskey out and swig it. She was the only teacher. I mean, there was
always English teacher, though, I swear.
There was one teacher I remember, actually. He was the careers advisor. He was called Mr. Blower, Derek Blower.
Get Derek on the blower.
He was 80.
80?
80.
Amazing.
When I was at school, so I would imagine he's not around anymore. And he was also the French teacher. And he, like, not a bad guy or anything, but when you're about to leave and you have your first time anyone gives you any attention, what do you want to do with your life? As if you have to cast it for the rest of your life. So I went in and I was like, right, yes, someone's giving me attention and I feel empowered by this drama. So I'm going to go in and I want to say it. So I said, I want to be a performer. And he went, no, you shouldn't do that. You should get into IT. Computers are going to be big. And that shows my age.
Really?
But, fuck you, Derek Blower. Yeah.
But they don't want that. I feel like that was never like advised at school to do anything creative.
No, my school was not about following a dream. My school was, and God bless them, my parents had always done what they had been told, and they had very normal jobs. And I think what I wanted scared the shit out of them, to be honest, because I think they realized that I was going to fly the nest really early, and I did. And I think they were terrified of what that would look like. God, I mean, what was to come was truly terrifying.
I think like it's so it's weird. I think the school system, not even just for queers, but in general, but even more so for queer people, it is so flawed, and people get forgotten, people get left behind. You're pushed to so many things that you don't want to do or can't do, and it makes you feel inadequate or less than. Like I was shit at French.
Well, because it's for the masses, isn't it?
Yeah,
School. It's a system.
It's about becoming a number.
Of course it is.
And like getting in line.
It's formulaic. You are part of the system that plays into capitalism. If we're going to go really deep here.
Let's go there.
You are part of a politicized system that you are a soldier, part of the capitalist soldier, junior soldier, and they're going to push you in a direction that is going to benefit the country that you're a part of. If you dream, if you want more, if you want different, that is not encouraged unless you have a gorgeous teacher that maybe thinks outside the box, and they are rare. If I had a kid that was brilliant at maths, sure, maybe I would keep them in school, but I have a godchild at the moment, or a fairy godchild, I should say, that they are not conventional. They are definitely one of us. And I would not be putting them, I would be worried about putting them, I think, small school, kindergarten, all that's fine. But I think when you get into senior school, which, let's be honest, is a zombie apocalypse for queer people at the best of times, let alone creative queer people, let alone creative queer people that want to achieve things, I would be homeschool. I don't know what I would do. I'll tell you what I would do. I would not have kids.
I think the best thing that happened to me in high school was fucking the bully. In the end,
you did not.
Yeah, like
how
after
the
like
hell?
The top guy that was like he wasn't really a bully, but he was the one that everyone feared. And
did you do that at school?
Yeah, when we were 16, it was so hush hush.
That's so hard. I was a late bloomer. No, there was one boy. Listen, my school was primarily white, and white boys have never been my jig. I'm strictly black dickly, and there was one. My friend at school who I thought was really hot. And obviously I was not out. It was a different time and I was just too scared. So I hooked him up with my sister.
Really?
Yeah. I can't have it. She should.
Oh, that's good.
And they went out with each other for 2 years.
Really?
And I just listened through the door. No, I didn't.
You've got to get it off somewhere.
Sorry, Stace.
No, I remember though. But then I remember that particular guy, I'd met up with him again like 5 or 6 years ago.
That's amazing.
After a Savage. He texted me after I was dancing at Savage.
Is he gay now? Is he out?
No.
Oh.
He got family at home now.
Yes, he does.
But I felt really sorry for him when I saw him that time.
That's sad.
When I was 16, 17, and we were like, that was like a different thing.
That's the revenge shag.
Yeah, but when I went back, I was like, I actually feel really sorry for you right now. Because like
he's not living his truth.
You're not living your truth. And you're hiding.
And that will eat away at someone.
Yeah, and it's sad.
The bravest thing in life, in anything you can do, is literally, even when it's painful, even when it's raw. Listen, your podcast last week is a great example of this, is lean into your truth. I think
there's power in it.
That even when it feels I would say especially when it feels uncomfortable, to lean into your truth is almost like a rebirth, I think.
Absolutely.
And we have so many of those in life. And I think, yes, I sobbed all the way through. But it's so powerful because I think that it basically gives a green light for others that look up to you to live in their truth. And it is so uncomfortable. And sometimes it's messy. And a lot of the time it's messy. I know both our pasts and they are messy at
Wouldn't
times.
change them though.
I would not change it.
I loved it.
We'd come out the other side.
I think especially being queer, you're already growing up feeling shame and you're holding on to that. And then no matter what happens, like getting rid of that shame is such a thing that eats away at people. And that's where like a lot of the negativity, a lot of the like depression, the anxiety, all of that can come from. Like you're not living your truth and being authentic. And as hard as that is, and I had to do that in the episode and just go through it,
But we live in a world still that, well, especially now, that isn't made for us, right?
Yeah.
So we are always on the back foot.
And it's even getting worse.
It's getting worse. It's getting terrifyingly worse, actually. And
I think this is a year where we've got to really show up.
Yeah, I've been really thinking about everything that's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's all consuming. And I'm trying not to react to anything. And I'm trying to think about how I can use my privilege in a time when And I've done okay, and I'm a white queer man that has the tools to be able to help people. And I also think I've been on a big old bumpy journey, and I've come out the other side relatively unscathed. But there's so many right now, and there's going to be a lot more that are fleeing complete desperation. Yeah. Like the most unimaginable things. I do loads of work. Obviously, I have a foundation called Pink Noise. Check it out. And we do a lot of work with rainbow migration. And I spoke to them this morning, and I was talking about, queer people seeking asylum. And I never thought the time would come when people would be coming to the UK, queer people fleeing from what could be the difference between life and death, from the States, a place that should be a sanctuary for queer people.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And I think that we're going to see such a fallout, because what Trump's obviously done is jumped on and empowered the most malleable of society, which is those that don't use their own minds, which benefits capitalism. He is a pawn. He's the ultimate pawn for a capitalist America to make it the greatest, richest place ever. And
at the expense
and radical thinking people they're not part of the chessboard of capitalism. And so, because we challenge and we look and we live in the creases of society, and that's what makes us wonderful, but we're also not easy to control. Yeah. And with that's why we need to be removed. That's why they need to be erased from over there.
It's almost like they've had their fun. They've had enough.
Exactly.
They've haven't had enough of this. Like, it's time to put them away again.
And I'm terrified, but what I have always done is try to create safety through radical joy. Yeah. That is my USP. It's weird, actually, as you get older, and I do less now in terms of I'm not every week in the club. And with that, it means that you become a little bit more reflective of why am I here? What am I doing? And I realize that everything I do is about putting people that don't have a voice or a space, bringing them together, whether that be online or whether that be the help in a charity, a festival, a club night. And I think in the weirdest way, large scale spaces where we're feeling this amazing radical queer joy, what they do is they empower us. They kind of give us the fight to go back into quite a hostile world that we're living in, and go, oh my God, actually, I just left this amazing environment where I saw that we're all good, together. So I just have to continue doing that.
But you have created those spaces for as long as I've been in London. Yeah. Sink the Pink, 2008 started Sink the Pink, right?
8th of the 8th, 2008. It's the only way I can remember it.
Is it 8th of the 8th, 2008? And that was at Bethnal Green Working Men's Club?
It actually wasn't, but it's so weird as time goes on that because that was when we really arrived.
Yeah, okay.
We'll go with that. We did a few bits before. I will tell you, actually, the first ever one we did was this now defunct, it was basically like a little corridor bar that you would get at Heathrow Terminal 5 or something. It was called The Green, and its tagline was London's premier middle-class gay bar.
No way. And you did Sink the Pink there?
Yeah.
That's so good.
Because we didn't really know, me and Amy, who I started Sink the Pink with, we didn't really know that many people in London. But we knew each other and we empowered each other to be the biggest. Yeah. And I think going back to the same thing with a drama teacher, it really doesn't you don't need everyone to see you. You just need the right people to see you. And it gives you such power and energy to move on to the next step of what you want. And so we just were like, right, we need to find one person that will give us a space, and then we'll bring all of our friends, we didn't have that many, together. And so we got given this Friday night at London's premier middle-class gay bar. He wanted us to call, I said we want to call it Sink the Pink. We want to call it Sink the Pink. And the owner or the manager of the bar said, oh, I don't know. I think you should call it Fry Gay. We won.
Yeah, well.
We got paid in drinks tickets, which at that point in my life was a winner.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because that's all I cared about was how many cans of Red Stripe I could get down me. And we were the DJs. Yeah.
Was this Glynfamous?
he wasn't even like a being in my mind at that point. No, I was still concerned with getting laid at that point, you know? So I was trying to be I was Twinkie Glyn then.
Yeah, okay.
Aging Twinkie Glyn. And so yeah, we started there, but the first one, 37 people came. A lot of them were my family. But
that's so mad to think.
That's wild, isn't it?
37 people. Like, I feel like that's
because it went on to literally
thousands.
Do you know, this is wild because hundreds of thousands of people came to Sink the Pink over the years.
Oh, well, like, I believe that.
It's absurd.
I don't think there's anything like it. Still.
I love getting older, right? I love getting older, and I've also enjoyed sort of not being as visible in the front of things. You know, with Hoopla, I'm happy to be behind the scenes. And then I love talking to people or being at a party or whatever, and people start talking about Sink the Pink, and they don't know.
Yeah.
And just hearing, you know, I was on the tube the other day on the way back from work because I work in an office. It's all got very, very grown up, and I was knackered, and I had my earphones on, and this girl, I just saw this phone like lunging towards me with a shaky hand like that. She's lunging at me with this phone. And I got my earphones on, and I'm like, what the f is going on? So when she's, Glyn. And I'm like, hi. I've got the worst eyesight, so I'm trying to get the phone away so I can see. She's on her Sink the Pink group with all of her friends on her WhatsApp. And she was just trying to explain. Anyway, she just burst into tears, and she said, I met my wife at Sink the Pink.
Aww.
I didn't know I was queer before, and you have basically formed my identity and the identity of my friends in London, and we will never, and I've always wanted to meet you and thank you in person.
That's so amazing.
And then she showed me the funniest thing, that in their friendship group, they've got a joint Monzo account for when they book Mighty Hoopla, and it's in as Glyn Fussell's house.
Really?
So every time they contribute, it says Glyn Fussell's house.
That's so amazing.
Thanks
that
for the
must
porch.
be such a nice feeling to have.
Well, I got off, I'm in Essex now. We got on at Liverpool Street. She got off at Mile End. So it was a really short encounter.
Yeah.
And then when she got off, I just sort of sat there.
Yeah, like what?
And the tube thinned out. And then I just started crying. And I just thought, that's why I do what I do.
It's true, and I think Sink the Pink was the same for me, though. Like, I remember going to Sink the Pink, and we would, like, put so much fucking effort. It was a mess. I remember going as, like, the melting ice caps once. Like, ridiculous outfits.
That was Under the Sea theme.
Yeah, Under the Sea theme.
That was
and
the
I went
year
as climate change.
Yeah, perfect. That was the year that our opening number, we did Elton John, I'm Still Standing.
Yeah.
And we built, out of cardboard, a Titanic that came across the stage, and we gave everyone in the front row iceberg lettuces to chuck at us. Like, the thing about it was it was
punk, though.
It was punk as hell, but wrapped in this like wild pop bow.
Yeah.
And it was so creative.
Yeah.
And because it was monthly, it was this ever churning factory. Like, it was akin to, can't believe I'm saying this, to what Warhol did.
Yeah. Love it.
But also what all those, I think about
the Club Kids vibe.
All of those movements, even I think about, you know, the Pussycat Dolls started as a burlesque movement in the Viper Rooms, and that was monthly, and they would have guests. What we were doing was so creative and so exciting, and also it was pure. No one will fully understand the extent of how much carnage there was on stage, backstage, after we go to the after party. But also, what I loved about it was we rehearsed. You know, I think we had 1 week, didn't we, after to recover from the after party, and then we would go straight back into rehearsals. Yeah. So we were always seeing each other. It was just magic. It really was. The best time of my life, the point of my life. You know, I always think that there was me pre-Sink the Pink and then me since. And when it ended, and I needed it to end, just for my own personal sanity, because it was 16 years. And also, it started when I was 28 and it finished when I was not 28. But I also was in a different point, but my life was still the same, and I needed it to change. I just needed everything to get a bit calmer.
It was ruckus, but it was the best.
It was the best thing ever and the messiest thing ever, and I do not have one regret.
No, too right.
One regret.
Because I remember like going to Sink the Pink and being like, this is so me, this is what I want to be doing. And I remember the first year, like I was coming up, like starting on the scene, 2018, I wanted to do Miss Sink the Pink, and I think you said no, not this year, and I was devastated. Devastated. I was like, no.
And look who won.
I worked and worked because I was like hungry, you know.
But
like
also, at that time, there wasn't a great deal of opportunity for...
Signa Pink changed my career in the sense of I was working, like doing things, and I remember winning Miss Signa Pink, and then I was full-time.
A working...
Full-time queen, yeah.
And that was, again, that was this sort of double-edged sword for me because it was so much pressure. You know what I mean? We basically created an ecosystem, an economy for queer people. And so it was so much pressure for me. And then also I felt like I had the gold sword. As you will compete. You will win. But what I loved about that was it was this amazing hotbed of talent, like wild, amazing talent. And as you know, the talent that I loved was always the kind of rough diamond. Yeah, I remember you so clearly. I remember the year that you did compete. Yeah. And I straight away, no disrespect to any of the others, because I always like to be quite involved, and I always remember you telling me what you were going to do, and then I think I came to see, I might have seen a rehearsal, I'm not sure, but I just knew. I was like, that's happening. Yeah. There's our winner. Because you were there, you were ready at that point.
I was hungry and I worked. And
hungry.
My mum was the first time she came to my
She was up on the balcony.
She was on the balcony, pissed, crying.
It was amazing.
It was so good.
And it was in the Troxy, which is a really special venue, a big venue, and we used to pack that out every month. It was incredible, incredible time. I agree with you. It did change the scene. Yeah. It made the scene a lot more queer, a lot more creative, and I think that will come back, though. Do you think that will come back?
I hope it does. I think what Signa Pink allowed was creativity and not perfection. It was like a perfection in the chaos. We always
shy away from the perfection.
Like it was, and that was the beautiful thing about it. That was what's so liberating and so freeing. Was like you didn't have to look. I know I look gorgeous now, but you didn't have to look. You could look however you wanted, and it was all about what the concept of the look was, or what you were doing.
What's your point of view?
What's your point of view? Yeah,
I think. I was never really that into, and I would say I'm still the same. I've spent a life around drag. Drag's such a big part of my life. But what I actually like is all of the kind of off-ball performers. Yeah. The kind of people that are trying to tell a story or say something. And I can see actually what their performance is a vehicle for something else.
Totally.
Because I don't think drag is enough, especially now. No.
There's so much.
There's so many drag queens. You need to... What are you trying to say? Yeah. What are you trying to do? Is it fame? Because that doesn't exist. That's not a real thing. So what are you trying to achieve? And I feel quite proud, actually, about all of those Signa Pink girls that are on Drag Race. I think that you look at them all, if you put them in a lineup, and believe me, we've all been arrested. We've been in a lineup. But I think if you put them in a lineup, there's not one that's the same. They're all completely different.
Totally.
We were not a conveyor belt of, it was basically a lineup of complete...
Misfits,
yeah.
Weirdos. Yeah. The biggest weirdos in London and around the UK.
Yeah, agree.
But then from that... Mighty Hoopla.
Yeah.
And we've just got Jade booked.
Yes, finally. I mean, she comes every year, doesn't she? So
yeah, in disguise.
What I liked last year is she came as Jessie Nelson.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I was like, you're right. She went, who are you? I'm Jessie. Yeah. She came as Jessie Nelson. She's just been nominated for 2 Brits as well, which is incredible and deserved. I think she's the perfect pop star. I think she's such an interesting... It's the same thing, like with drag queens. What are you trying to say? What's your point of view? Yeah. Her point of view is very interesting. Yeah. She's such a smart girl, and we know this because we both know her.
Totally.
She's the real freaking deal. She's the ultimate ally. She says it, she does it. And
it's real.
Yeah, and she's also an absolute weirdo.
Yeah.
I remember her coming to Signa Pink years ago. And she would come and she would enjoy it, and then she would come and sit in the dressing room, because as we know, the carnage of the dressing rooms was where everybody wanted to be. Yeah. And I remember I just sort of sat there being all small, looking up at everyone in a little Geordie voice. And I looked over and she'd open up a clutch bag, and I'm like, okay, she's doing something here. And she pulled out a Dairy Lee Dunker. She sat there eating a snack, and I was like, this girl is trash and class all at the same time.
I love that.
Yeah, she's amazing. So yeah, she's playing Kesha. Yeah. The return of Kesha.
Sierra.
Sierra's first show in the UK, I think in Europe in 10 years. Who else?
That's
Lots
so
of people.
exciting.
Erica Jane.
Pretty mess.
Lots of people that it is a smorgasbord of bonkers, eclectic pop culture. It's the biggest privilege to do it. And I think I set this wild, unobtainable standard every year, and I freak out because I go, God, how am I gonna beat that from last year? But I just push people in their DMs. That's how I do it. Have you ever thought about reforming your band? I can help.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
And Malta.
Imagine that. Wouldn't it be great to play Malta?
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
I would love to play Malta.
I'll speak to my people.
Okay, let's do it. But let's hope no one's horses die this year.
No. Should we tell that story?
Go on, yeah. Right, this is going to be the end now because I think we've got to wrap it up. But we'll end with one.
Well, there was one
ruckus story.
famous. I'm not going to name her. Bimini's a big fan. One famous performer, glamour girl performer, that was supposed to perform at Mighty Hoopla one year. Anyway, I got up really early, 6 o'clock, to get my cab to the festival. And this strange number rings me about 6:30. And I pick up, she went, I'm just going to have to say who it is, aren't I? All right. And I'm like, hello, who's this? It's a Pricey. Oh, hello. I'm playing your festival, I think. And I'm like, yes, you are. Tell me then, what am I doing?
Oh, I love her.
Anyway, fast forward to about 11 o'clock and I'm just getting text after text after text. And she's really having fun with herself. She sends me a picture of a Morris Minor, was one of those three-wheeled cars from the 70s. You're seeing me turning up. I'm going to be coming up in this. Anyway, about an hour before she's supposed to be on site and we cannot get through to her. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I've literally just been dealing with, meanwhile, I've got a big pop star on the stage, like not Nelly Furtado, but someone big. And I'm just non-stop dealing with the Pricey. And I finally, 20 minutes before she's on stage, I get this text saying, oh, I'm so sorry I can't come, my horse has died. Horse lovers. And she sends me a video of horse dying. Anyway, if you Google horse dying, it will be the first video that comes up, and I'll leave it with that.
Oh my God, I love that story so much.
But I love her, and she played a couple of years after as a redemption song. And
we do love her.
It went off. Listen, this is why the queers love her. She is the most resilient.
Yeah.
That's why you love her, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think she just like gives zero fucks. She's resilient.
She's very honest and open and vulnerable. She can allow herself to do that.
And I think queer people, this is why I think queer people especially are so forgiving of her, because they go, I see that. And also in person, she's an absolute gag. She's amazing.
I've got one last question for you.
Yeah.
What is your most chaotic memory over the years? Or if you think about one, or just one standout memory.
Oh my God, are you serious?
I think we should go something like...
My most chaotic memory of myself.
Or just to Sing the Pink, or a story, like a bit of goss. A lot went on behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah. There's so many. Do you know, I think...
Yeah.
It's landed.
There we go.
The thing about Sing the Pink that was always so weird was all of it. It was like a British John Waters movie in reality. And it was at a working men's club in the back end of Bethnal Green. And yet somehow it became a destination for like every celebrity under the sun. And they would turn up and we would sweep them in. And they would probably think, oh, I'm going to get to go and sit in this VIP room. Turns out it was where their dead cat, we would all be getting ready in the cat cupboard where their dead cat had been pissing everywhere. I had nowhere as an office, so there was this cat cupboard where the kitty litter tray, and I would wee in it as well because I would have loads of Spanx on, I'd have to pull aside, so I'd wee in it. Anyway, I go out and perform one of my many hit singles, and I come back into the cat cupboard. There was a very famous model being shagged by Darius Dinesh. And the money, because I would take all the money from the till, was just like they were leaning on the cupboard next to it, and it opened, and the money was just going everywhere. So that's always something I remember. I also remember that. Do you remember Bryan Adams would always just turn up? Yeah. And we would give him a wig, and he would just go incognito and just walk around the club.
So good.
So for me, I always like those moments. They're like really weird, wild moments. This is a good one. I've got another one, actually.
I reckon Princess Di would have come if she was...
Absolutely. I think one of the final Sink the Pinks we ever did at the Troxy, it was New Year's Eve. Samantha Mumba was performing. Love her. And she said to us in the day, I've got some guests coming, but they'll need to come round the back. Again, we're in the back ends of Limehouse, not the safest area, definitely not a place where a celebrity would normally come. So they go down this bin-soaked, piss-stained alley, and all of a sudden, all these huge security guys come through the back. I'm stood there in a jockstrap and a pair of heels, face falling off. In walks Oscar-winning actress Faye Dunaway with the Sultan of Brunei's gay son, who is no longer with us. I wonder what happened to him. And they just casually came in. And I remember them walking past John Sizzle, who just fell on the floor. John Sizzle from The Glory fell on the floor and went, "Mummy dearest."
Oh my God.
So yeah, there were many moments.
Yeah, it was a real
moments.
It was a real time. I feel so honoured to be part of it in a small way. Like, it was a moment.
I one day want there to be the book where we all contribute and tell our story of that time. It should not be written by one person.
No.
There should be all our different tales to get to that dance floor, because they're the craziest stories.
It was
right?
so amazing.
Yeah.
Glyn Fussell, thank you so much.
Love you.
I love you. This was amazing. I feel like we could have just yapped and yapped.
Still so much to cover.
Still so much to cover. We'll have to do a part 2. But love you.